the television you watch every day, the smartphone signals and Wi-Fi you rely on, even the radar that protects airplanes in the sky. All of these might never have existed without the invention of one Japanese man. And yet, very few people know his name. That man was Hidetsugu Yagi, the inventor of the Yagi Antenna who transformed global communications. So why has his name almost disappeared from Japanese memory? Chapter 1. A Hidden Beginning. Hidetsugu Yagi was born in Osaka in 1886. From an early age, he showed a fascination with electricity and machines, so much so that adults around him called him a curious child. At the University of Tokyo, Yagi studied engineering. At the time, wireless communication was still known only among researchers. Inspired by the success of Marconi's wireless telegraphy spreading across the world, Yagi became deeply intrigued. But in Japan, research was scarce, funding limited, and equipment poor. I'll have to break this ground myself. From that thought, Yagi's passion ignited. Chapter 2. Days of Struggle. Life in Yagi's lab was far from glamorous. Antenna experiments looked dull, lining up metal rods, adjusting their angles and lengths, recording how the waves behaved. If it failed, he would start all over again. Together with his assistant, Shintaro Uda, he repeated these experiments hundreds of times. On rainy days, in strong winds, they erected antennas outdoors, making endless adjustments, notebooks filled with data. Colleagues even mocked him. Will this kind of research ever be useful? But Yagi never gave up. The invisible power of radio waves can serve humanity. That conviction drove him forward. Chapter 3. The Moment of Breakthrough. In 1926, the turning point finally came. One day, after adjusting the antenna's angle, the receiver suddenly picked up a signal stronger and clearer than ever before. The waves reached exactly where we aimed them. The lab erupted in cheers. Yagi and Uda shook hands firmly, convinced. This will be the technology that connects the world. This breakthrough would spread across the globe as the Yagi-Uda antenna, or simply the Yagi Antenna. Chapter 4. How the Yagi Antenna works. What made the Yagi Antenna revolutionary? Traditional antennas scattered radio waves in all directions, weak and noisy. Yagi's design combined multiple metal rods, allowing the signal to be focused in one direction. It was like gathering the beam of a flashlight with a lens, projecting it much farther and brighter. This principle dramatically improved efficiency. Radio broadcasts became clearer, television signals stable, and eventually the same concept would power radar, satellite communication, Wi-Fi and smartphones. Chapter 5. Celebrated abroad, ignored at home. Amazingly, the Yagi antenna was immediately recognized worldwide. Patents were filed in the United States, and the invention was soon adapted for military radar. During World War II, Allied forces relied on Yagi's technology to detect enemy aircraft. Early an innovation said to have changed the course of battles. But ironically, in Japan, its significance went largely unnoticed. After the war, people saw it only as that antenna on the rooftop, and Yagi's name faded into obscurity. Chapter 6. Yagi the Educator. Yagi was not just a researcher, but also a gifted teacher. As a professor at Tohoku University, he trained countless students, many of whom would later lead Japan's post-war communications research. He also believed his invention was a gift to all humanity. Instead of chasing profits, he prioritized sharing his technology. That selfless spirit earned him deep respect among scientists worldwide. Chapter 7. Why was he forgotten? So why did Hidetsugu Yagi's name vanish from history? First, his invention was tied closely to wartime use. Post-war Japan often avoided speaking of technologies connected to war. Second, the invention became too familiar. The Yagi antenna, lined up on rooftops everywhere, seemed ordinary, its brilliance invisible. And so, Yagi's name was erased from textbooks and public memory. Chapter 8. Lasting Legacy. Even today, Yagi's invention shapes our lives. Television, radio, wireless communication, aircraft radar, weather observation, even space exploration. All of these rely on the directional antenna principle he created. In other words, we still live every day under the shadow of his achievement. Chapter 9. Knowledge Beyond Exams. It's true Hidetsugu Yagi's name won't appear on an exam. That's why most of us never learned it. But should history only exist for test scores? History exists to shine a light on the wisdom that shapes our future. Even if it doesn't earn points, knowing that a Japanese mind changed The world gives us pride and the courage to shape what comes next. Conclusion. The forgotten Japanese Hidetsugu Yagi, his name may have been erased, but his achievement continues to sustain our modern lives, unearthing and retelling the stories of hidden pioneers. That is the true lesson history has to offer us, ending questions. So the next time you watch TV or use your phone, remember behind it lies the story of one Japanese man who never stopped believing in the future. Did you know this? And who do you think should be the next forgotten Japanese? Whose story we tell?